Welcome to my season 4.3 video. This season just started today, 2 hours ago, and it's going to last for a total of 56 days, as you can see here. And in this video, I'm going to talk about what's new here and my opinion on the different stuff. So, first, the premium skins for the Shaman, which is the Buccaneer Shamans. These are the two new skins, in case you're interested. The new variant ability is the Kill Hold variant for the Buccaneer set. I made a video about this set. Well, I've done a video about every set in the game. But in my opinion, the Buccaneer set is interesting as a gimmick, but not particularly strong. And this new variant, what it adds is, at the start of the turn, if there are 8 or more blue gems on the board, create a skull gem for each kill hold gear equipped. So, let's talk about the Bloodfang set. The full Bloodfang set bonus, which as you can see I have all 6 pieces equipped. At the start of your turn, if there are 8 or more blue gems, create 7 skull gems. So it's pretty much the same. The difference, of course, is that in the case of Bloodfang, you need to equip the whole set, and then it creates 7 skulls for 6 pieces, while for the Buccaneer, it creates 1 skull for each piece you have equipped. Now, it is possible to combine most pieces, not all of them obviously, because both sets have a weapon and you can only have 1 weapon equipped, but the other pieces, yes, so you can get the belt, the pants, the ring, the amulet, no, okay, and the helmet. So, have 6 pieces from the Bloodfang, the full set, and then 5 pieces from Buccaneer that, with the new variant, will generate an additional 5, so a total of 12 skulls if there are 8 or more blue gems on the board at the start of the turn. Now, it is important to note that right now it is at the start of the turn. So if you equip, for example, 2 pieces from the Ancient Dragon set that generates gems at the start of your turn, it won't proc the full Bloodfang or the Buccaneer sets. It has to be 8 gems at the start of the turn before this bonus is applied. Now, for a gimmick, yeah, this can be really fun. Is it practical? In my opinion, no. No, it is not. Yes, you can use 1 or 2 pieces here and there for the Buccaneer set, but no, I don't think equipping the whole set is practical. The weapon is not particularly good. And in the case of physical builds, because obviously if you want to generate those extra skulls, it's going to be for a physical build or a very particular elemental build. The ring is okay. It can be really fun to use together with an Esgar flail because they can feed each other if you're lucky enough. And the pants are okay. However, I personally prefer, in the case of a physical build, if you're not playing green, to use the bone pants together with the ring. Let's put it on to get this chance to create a skull gem at the start of your turn. So yeah, I think this new variant is interesting, but not, not particularly good. More a gimmick than a main build. Next is the new legendary. I like to call these items unique because they can only be found in caches. So when taking damage, there is a chance equal to 5% per blue gem on the board to reflect that damage and then gain a barrier. And it will also have the same variant ability as the season set. They always do. So quite an interesting item for PvP. To be very, very annoying on defense and maybe in other places. The thing is that it's when taking damage, meaning these procs during the opponent's turn, and you have no control on how many blue gems are on the board during the opponent's turn. If you are playing blue yourself, yes, you have a lot of control during your turn, but at the end of your turn, you are going to get a few matches that will very likely generate big gems, but your opponent is very likely as well to match those big gems because the AI usually goes for the big gems first. So yeah, it's going to be, I don't know, between 6 and 8 gems on average, assuming you completely clear the board and your opponent doesn't match blue gems. So this chance is going to be not very high. Still, is gain reflect and gain a barrier. Excuse me, not gain reflect. Reflect that damage and then gain a barrier. So it's pretty good. But yeah, I don't like items that have either a very low chance or, in this case, a chance that you cannot modify or manipulate in your favor. It's just RNG. Maybe you are lucky, and most of the time you're not gonna be very lucky. However, this is from the new set, the Pantheon set, from the 4th season, and we now have 4 items. We don't know what the other 2 items will be. We know one of them will be the weapon because all sets have a weapon, but we don't know what the other one is going to be, and obviously we don't know what the individual pieces will do. In Season 1 we got the Dragon King Axe, which is an excellent weapon and the best weapon in my opinion for elemental builds. In Season 2 we got the God Slayer, which is a weapon that explodes gems when you match skulls, which is arguably the best weapon for a rainbow physical build. In Season 3 we got the Orb of the Last, which is pretty useless, honestly. So we will see what happens in the Season 4. We will have to wait for another 4 or 5 months until Season 4.5 is released. But yeah, now what we also got is the 4 set bonus. For the 2 set bonus, let me get it right here on Mythic. At the start of the battle, gain 10 mana for all spells. We already knew this, which is okay. I mean, Dragon Guard 2 set bonus gets 12, but it gives on 12 to only your regular spells, not your ultimate. This one also increases your ultimate by 10 points, but it's nothing particularly good or new or game breaking. But for the 4th set we get, there is a 30% chance to blind the enemy at the start of your turn. Blinding the enemy on round 1 or any new enemy if you're in a dungeon, because every time you kill an enemy and a new one comes in, the game considers it the start of your turn, so you have a chance to blind it. This is very good. This is very strong. However, does it justify using 4 pieces of equipment from this set, considering how rare these items are, how expensive they are in ancient coins? I still don't know. Yes, a 30% chance to blind is pretty good, but we will have to wait to see the other two pieces to decide if it's worth investing or not. And also remember that this is a chest piece, and for the Ancient Dragon set, um, let's change it here, we have the Mirror of the Forgotten, which if you're not playing a green elemental build, I think is one of the best pieces to use, if not the best piece. And at the start of your turn, there is a 20% chance to blind the enemy. So this is one piece that gives you 20% chance, and the other set bonus is 4 pieces that give you 30% chance. And yeah, you could potentially wear both of them at the same time, but not the chest piece, obviously, so we will have to wait to see what the other two pieces bring to the table. And also remember that on top of that, the new variant for the runic set also has a chance to blind the opponent. This is the sparkling variant of the runic set. And it's a 2% for each piece of equipment. Now 2% is a small amount, but if you have all 6 pieces, it adds up to 12%. So yeah, as I said, we have to wait and see what else is released for the other set pieces, because the individual pieces right now are not particularly strong. They are not bad either per se, but they are middle of the road. And for a set that is so expensive, yeah, that's not very good. Next, the new minions. As usual, very cute. Now, are they useful? Well, we have Chorsi with 220 speed. The maximum any minion can have in any stat is 250, and the total added points, as you can see, are 450. So it's a standard minion. Yeah, pretty good speed and decent cunning, and it's blue, and we don't have high speed and high cunning blue ones. For green, we have, well, actually higher cunning than speed. Let me go right here. For green, we have the Whelpy. Excuse me, higher speed than cunning, which is very similar. And for yellow, we have was it? No, it wasn't the Griff. The Ponytor, I think this one. Yes, that has also very good speed and very decent cunning. So is one of these minions very similar to this that has a very good speed with decent cunning. But being blue makes it a little bit more expensive to upgrade. Not that much. Blue gems can be farmed in the Kasduli Expedition Adventure. This one starts tomorrow. Please watch my video on it if you want to know more. They cost 20 gems each for the scrolls, for the epic scrolls. So, okay, it's something that you can farm there. But it's an okay minion, nothing extraordinary. And for Shotty, another very high might and mediocre speed and cunning minion. Again, middle of the road, also a 450, so nothing special. Yes, collect them both, you gotta catch them all, but outside of that, not that much practical use for them. In the case of the Chelsea, yes, because it's going to be very high speed in case you want a minion with very high speed and decent cunning, but otherwise just for collection. And finally, let's talk about the new spells. First, Broadside. Deal fire damage. It costs 130 fire mana and deals fire damage and burns the enemy for a certain number of turns. Now, burn in this game is not particularly good unless you're playing a Warlock. Burn deals 3% of the opponent's current, not maximum, current HP every turn. 3% is a very small amount. Now, the Warlock has the Imp gems, which changes completely how burn works because it buffs it to the point where you can one-shot enemies. And that is the reason why the burn Warlock build is so strong. But here's the thing. The purple burn Warlock is way stronger than any red burn Warlock because you have access to Tentacle Slap, you have access to Darkness, Dark Eyes, and Eldritch Blast, which gives you a very good chance to double stun your opponents, and double stun can lock down any enemy in the game, especially for events, especially for boss rush events, any enemy in the game except for the Kingdom Dragon and the Living Statue. So it is extremely strong. And on top of that, you have the Kasduli crossbow, which, yeah, it can be used with a red build as well, absolutely. You can use a red crossbow to gain more ultimate spell mana, but the knight set, the 4 pieces of the knight set, will charge your ultimate spell way faster than any red build could. So burning for a red build is okay. And even if you want to play a red burn Warlock for, fun, you can still have access to burn with Hellfire Gate that burns the enemy for 4 turns. And you can use Channel Fire, and I think there is another spell that also burns. So yeah, the spell is nothing new, honestly. It's just okay, middle of the road. Yeah, deals damage and burns the enemy, but it doesn't offer anything game breaking like Climb the Peak 2 seasons ago in season 4.1. Well, what about if you want to play an red elemental build? Well, you can play a red elemental build with a Warlock. When I say elemental, I mean not dealing damage with burn primarily, but instead fire elemental damage. However, in my opinion, the best red elemental build is the Mercenary, because the Mercenary has access to Searing Strike, which is this spell that deals fire damage and is boosted by every red or green gem on the board. Now, this is the build. I have a video about this build, and this is the build that I use for PvP. And what I have is a lot of gem generation. So I have Channel Fire, I have Scorching Ray, both of them to generate red gems, and Burning Hands to generate the red gems, as well as deal a bit more of fire damage. And when you put all of them together, you have, due to this massive gem generation, a pretty good chance to get a stunning row, and also a good boost for Searing Strike. Alternatively, you can also use Burn the Dead, that deals fire damage, destroys all skulls, which is good because you're playing an elemental build, and it also boosts your damage for each skull destroyed. So, yeah, the new spell, as I said, doesn't bring anything new to the table, in my opinion. And finally, we have the other spell, which is Chain Shot. Deal ice damage and freeze the enemy for a number of turns, depending on the rarity. If they are already frozen, inflict terror. Now, terror is a mechanic, is a debuff on your opponents that increases your damage by 20% if there are 5 or more purple gems on the board. If you are playing a blue um, build, you're not going to have a lot of uh, access to purple gems, obviously, unless you're playing both elements. But the thing is that when I started this build for my shaman, let me change it to the current build. These are the spells that I'm using with her: Ray of Frost, Frostbolt, Cockatrice Juju, and Cold Snap. So when I started this build, one thing that I wanted was to have 4 spells that could deal damage individually, because the idea was to use it on automatic mode, and this will reduce the not so smart AI possibilities to screw you over. So whenever the AI uses one of your spells, you're going to deal damage. That was the original idea. I took this build, I based it on or got inspired by Born in USSR's Sub-Zero build, and he uses Channel Ice instead. You can see his video. I put a link on the description of my Blue Shaman video. So in that video, I explain it in more detail. But basically, the idea is that he uses Channel Ice to generate blue gems and freeze the opponent. And then you use the Bloodfang Gloves to increase your damage to frozen enemies by 30%. And obviously, you also use Cockatrice Juju because you're going to stun the opponent, but it also puts a debuff that increases your damage by an additional 25%. So if the enemy is frozen and has bad Juju, that's a 55% increase in damage, which really makes a difference. However, in my case, because I'm not using any spell that can freeze the opponent, what I did was to use 4 pieces of equipment from the Bloodfang set. To get there is a 75% chance to inflict freeze on your opponent for 3 turns when you cast a spell. However, with the new spell, you have the option to have one spell that can deal damage and freeze. It doesn't generate gems though, so maybe you need to make some changes. But it only costs 100 mana. Now, as I said, for terror, I don't care that much because you cannot really control it. But you could make the same build that I have, proc freeze with that spell, and instead of having to use 4 pieces of equipment from the Bloodfang set, you could alternatively use 4 pieces of equipment from the Dragon Guard set. That will passively increase all your elemental damage by 15%. So, yeah. Had I started my build right now, I would have made these changes with the things that I know right now. obviously, because I have enough gem generation passively with the two set pieces from the Ancient Dragon set that generates an additional 4 gems. So that would be an option. However, if we go to the Necromancer is a blue and purple hero, blue as primary and purple as secondary. And it is possible with him to have a build that combines the two elements. Still not very strong, but as a gimmick is interesting. And the new spell is basically the same as Icy Terror. It costs 5 more mana, it deals a little bit more damage, but it does the same. It inflicts frozen on the enemy, and if the enemy is already frozen, then it inflicts terror. There is another spell that is Paralyzing Fear that deals ice damage and applies terror, but if the enemy already has terror, then it freezes. So it seems that the developers really want to put these two mechanics together and try to boost a blue and purple build. However, we also need to remember that we have Winter Mists that freezes the opponent, and if they are already frozen, it deals elemental damage plus a 10% for each turn that they are frozen. So yeah, they're giving you more options to increase that freeze count on the opponent for big damage. Is it as good as using Frostbolt? I don't think so. I haven't run the exact numbers, but I think a Frostbolt elemental build is still better. But who knows? Maybe, yeah, maybe with this new spell and other spells that they release later, this will change it. But yeah, the new spell is basically a slightly stronger version of Icy Terror. I don't quite understand why the developers wanted to do a new a spell that is, yeah, it's exactly the same. I mean, the difference is really small. 5 more mana and a little bit more ice damage. But at the end of the day, well, it's another very cheap spell that can deal damage and freeze, that, as I said, opens up more options for a Necromancer or a Shaman Blue elemental build, or any class, because yeah, all these blue spells are available for all classes. Here I'm using Chill Touch, but you can always use Desert Knight instead of Chill Touch, and Desert Knight is a spell available for everyone. So yeah, not much new in this season when it comes to what it brings. As I said, the variant is okay, but it's more a gimmick than game breaking. The unique item is interesting on its own to be used for PvP, not so much for PvE, and very random. The new minions are okay for collecting, but that's it. Yeah, the Chorsi is very good. It's a very high speed, even compared to those other minions that I showed you. So if you can get your hands on a few ones, and if you want to prioritize speed, yeah, it's a good option. Shotty is just for collecting, not that much. And these spells again are okay, but they don't bring anything new to the table. So all in all, oh, and the skins, well, if you're interested in the skins, they're always decent. I have no complaints. And in this game, skins are just cosmetic. They don't make any changes to your build. So if you like them, go for them. But yeah, all in all, an okay new season. but nothing game breaking. So this is my analysis for season 4.3. If you liked it, please like, comment, subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.